And it says, William Shatner explains while he will not return to Star Trek. It says, Star Trek icon William Shatner crushed hopes of the actor returning to the beloved franchise that made him a household name. A fan asked Shatner, now that they have the series Picard, hashtag Picard, do you think they'll consider a series Kirk for you? Shatner responded, no. I think Kirk's story is well played out at this point. This is a direct quote from a Twitter exchange from William Shatner's official Twitter. As you can see, that's what he says. No, I think Kirk's story is pretty well played out at this point. In a follow-up tweet, Shatner also shot down the idea of him doing a cameo. As he notes, this isn't a new position he's taking. He has been consistent in not doing them at all. There was a push from J.J. Abrams when the 2009 reboot was in production, but that didn't go anywhere. And I do remember that story that supposedly J.J. was trying to get, Kirk, to have a cameo as, the older version of himself. And Shatner was like, nope, I don't do cameos. And so it says, this is from William Shatner's Twitter. What was any different about my statement on Kirk that I haven't said before? I don't do cameos. That one stretches back to 2008 and JJ. Kirk's story is well told out of any other captain's story. Kirk died in generations. What is really left? Adventures in the Ribbon. Talking about the Nexus. So I will say this. Just had to say this. I have to choose my words a little bit. Okay. I will say I don't think Shatner is being 100% genuine because he has advocated before for a return of Kirk. There was specifically a line that he said many times because people would say back to him, well, but you're dead. And his response used to be, but it's science fiction. You can always bring people back in science fiction. He used to say that a lot because he did have some interest in reprising the role. One of the latest comments I remember him having, and it was in regards to when Picard was greenlit, was he did talk about his age and the fact that there was basically no way he could do a show like Patrick Stewart again, to come back in that way. And there was some talk about maybe him coming back in a more limited capacity in some way. And it did seem like he was interested. So it hasn't been 100% consistent. He is almost 90 years old now. Okay, so I think it has a lot more to do with that than this sort of idea that this has just been his attitude all along. Because I think he did have some interest in reprising the role. And my speculation would be that he's just getting on in years and he can't maintain the level of activity that he used to be able to maintain. Right. That's just common sense, So, and I think also maybe he's kind of come to the realization the only way he would come back, as far as from the producer's perspective, is as a cameo. And to his credit, I agree with that 100%. That's my concern with Star Trek Picard and the legacy characters is that they become nothing more than cameos, that they're irrelevant, and you actually do damage to the character, Right. And so to his credit, he's saying, I don't want to do that. Now, my personal fan opinion is I am not a big fan of Generations, and that's in particular because I was not a big fan of the way Kirk died. So I am among many Trekkies who do wish, Kirk could come back and have sort of a better death, even if that's the way we want to go. Or we could just leave him in a good place. That would be nice too. Doesn't have to die, They did that with Spock to some extent in the JJ films. Although I know later, I guess they decided to say, yeah, he did die. I don't know why you had to do that. You could have just let Spock Prime, quote unquote, just live forever. Just you don't see him anymore, But it is what it is. I think Spock, especially Leonard Nimoy, had sort of a more graceful end to the character. A lot of tributes and things like that than Kirk did.
Right.
That's just my opinion as a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just take it that it does sound like that William Shatner's probably done with Kirk, and I wouldn't blame him. He is, as you said, he's getting older, on in years, and it would make sense. But when I look at the legacy that William Shatner's had in terms of Star Trek and Kirk and his career as a whole, he's still got an awful lot to be proud of, I think, too.
He's the
So
original.
that's yeah.
Absolutely. He set the tone. He set the bar. He's my favorite captain. He's my favorite Star Trek captain. TOS is my favorite Star Trek. I have no problem saying that to anybody who asks, or even if they don't. So I mean, the legacy, of course, is there. I just, for one, kind of wish that we could somehow address the problems of generations, but that apparently will not happen.
Well, but then I turn around and I look at it, and I look at how they're addressing the problems of Nemesis and Picard, and I wouldn't, even if the opportunity existed, I don't know if they would do any better job or better justice for Kirk.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in our Picard review, and there's a lot of people that feel that way, which is kind of like, you know what, kind of not necessarily good to be involved in new Trek right now. That's
I don't see it's not necessarily. Yeah, it's not necessarily a good thing. Maybe Generations, we should just leave that dog lie. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So
I can see that.
At least, yeah.
I can totally see that.